Tapping in.
Are we live?
I don't feel right starting this one. I feel like you got to start this one.
Yeah, this toxic stuff's for me, y'all. This toxic stuff's for me. I hate to be the target audience of this Brent Faiyaz Wasteland album that we're reviewing. Brent Faiyaz is listed as an R&B and soul singer. If you are familiar with Brent Faiyaz, he was previously on Sonder, which was a collective. Absolutely dope music came up from SoundCloud days. This is going back to his first EP, Sonder Sun, dropping in 2017. Made us wait for a while before giving us the Fuck the World EP that came out in 2020 to much critical acclaim on there. In between that, obviously featured in Crew with Gold Link. But it seemed like folks were waiting on this particular Brent Faiyaz more than I can remember folks waiting on his music before. And this is now this grand dropping after dropping a whole bunch of dope songs like Summer in Paris, what is it, Summer in London, a whole bunch of things that I can relate to. He's talking about heartbreak. He's talking about toxic stuff. And he's talking about me.
Yes, I can attest for sure that Brent is talking about Zway. Zway is Chris from all the skits, if y'all was wondering, right? Yes, it was a pseudonym. We filling y'all in on who it was. But this is also for me, especially from the perspective of somebody who cannot let go of 90s R&B. In the way that Brent structures his songs, the way that he layers his vocals, the way that he uses drums, he always keeps a little bit of that 90s vibe in there. And it sounds like Aaliyah influences. It sounds a little bit like Sade. It sounds a little bit, I really, really love his approach to the music because it doesn't sound like he's trying for hits or radio singles in his approach to R&B. And he relies a lot on his voice and his writing ability. And even in the places where it doesn't really work for me, I can respect it. I have mixed feelings about Wasteland as a huge, huge fan of Brent. Fuck the World and AM Paradox are some of my favorite projects of R&B to come out in the last few years. But Wasteland was a little bit, it was hard for me to get through even as a fan. And even as I'm saying that, maybe hard for me to get through isn't the right phrasing. But you know when you get an album from somebody you really like and you're listening to it and you're like, you really like them, so you're explaining to yourself why you like the songs you're listening to as you're going through the album. You know what I mean? And then you catch yourself doing that and you're like, I didn't have to explain to myself why I liked the last joint. That's where I found myself with this one. I see you smiling. What you say? What you think?
I'm thinking we should coin that the Kendrick effect.
No, no. Veto.
When you're explaining to yourself, I really do like this album. I love this guy. He never misses. But that's interesting you say that because a lot of people are feeling that way about it too. I will say that the competition for R&B music right now is quite high. This particular brand of R&B music has always come to mixed reviews when it comes to the vocal delivery of some of Brent's songs. He has been accused or has been considered by many as being a bit lazy when it comes to vocal performances. I think Fuck the World, the album before, had more noticeable moments in him really flexing his vocal abilities, specifically with Been Away. I think Been Away was a very cool song, but with this album being a bit longer than that, 19 tracks, a few skits in between, there is a bit of ear fatigue that does come along with it. But the songs that I do like a lot. It is for me offering that I'll be happy with. A bit Ellie Sostre, if you're familiar with him. I think Ellie Sostre This sounds like a lot of what I'd expect from Ellie Straight to be able to produce. I was hoping with Brent being a bigger artist now than he's ever been, following the success of Fuck the World, that there'd be a bigger feel to the music, that the music would really dive into a lot of the audio layers that we're getting from artists, specifically if you're looking at what Sabrina Claudio is doing, if you look at what Summer Walker is doing, even what Giveon did with this last album, they're taking the sound quality to a whole different range, and that was the content on the nose, spot on. The delivery of the audio quality of it, not my favorite.
I'll throw a caveat at that, and I don't know if you agree, but I feel like it was it was there in certain spots. Role model, Dead Man Walking, um, Wasting Time, Price of Fame. But I think it was in a few of the spots that we had already heard. I think Gravity is a vibe. Gravity is a bounce. And I attribute a little bit of that to Tyler, the creator. That seems like it could fit in, slide in on Call Me When You Get Lost. But I think there are spots where, to your point, right? On this, I don't think he's flexing his voice so much as he's flexing his versatility over different types of production that still aren't the what the mainstream is used to. And somebody who was in love with what the Weeknd was doing as a younger, more independent artist, and can appreciate his success, but isn't really loving the complete turn to pop, I can appreciate somebody staying very, very far away from that. And I think that's kind of what guided me through the album, right? Villain's theme, I listened to it. What I immediately got from that as an intro was it's clouded with voices and all these different types of layers of audio that represent just a overwhelming life. And that's what you get from the project, right? It's overwhelming. Too much is coming at him. He can't deal with everything that's coming at him in life. Loose Change, when I heard that, I'm like, he's going a little bit more for a longer, more drawn out version of saying what he's saying. And I could appreciate it, but I didn't really love it. Gravity, a hit, but I heard it before. Then it gets to Heal Your Heart and it's an interlude. And then it gets to 5 and it's a skit. You know what I mean? So I'm 6 tracks in, just starting to get into something that feels new to me. And I feel like that was a mistake almost as a structural thing with this album, bro. But from 6 on, I find spots where I can really appreciate just what he adds to and holds and brings into and honors the tradition of into current R&B. And maybe I'm just a huge fan, but I just yeah, I think you're being a little too. I think his vocals he does what he needs to do to get his point across on the songs, and it's not the most vocally verbose, but it's really, I think he's really showing his talent here. And this doesn't make me slower to run to his next project. I'll say that.
I like how you said that. Doesn't make me slow to run to his next projects. And again, it's one of those cases where if you had not heard Gravity before, or Wasting Time before, or Dead Man Walking before, that was your first time stumbling on him on this album, I think your opinion changes. And that's just the case of how we take in music today. But you're right, that Role Model, I think for me was a standout track. So dope, so hard, very Weekend reminiscent of that House of Balloons feel. Specifically, if you think about Birds 2, it's got that feel to it, and I'm a big fan of that sound of that music. Rolling Stone is one of my favorites on this album. Wasting Time is good. This is cool R&B. Definitely going to make a sex playlist of mine for sure. A few tracks on there, and I might even drop that on our SoundCloud.
I'm thinking 3 out of 5 for this thing. What you thinking?
I'm down to rock with 3 out of 5, man. I'm down to rock with 3 out of 5. That's still better than 50%.
And as our resident R&B head, what else should people be diving into if they are digging this?
Oh, Miles, I'm so glad you asked. What you can dive into is the Uncle Jams, my Uncle Jams playlist that I drop on on Apple Music. Check out our SoundCloud. We be dropping playlists over there too. A whole lot of Afro beats for this black boy over here. A whole lot of Afro beats and a whole lot of the R&B that came out this week. I mean, that came out this year. A lot of Summer Walker, the guys that I've mentioned. That's what I'm listening to. What about you? What's on your Serato?
No cap. If you were digging if you like this and want to go a little bit further away from traditional R&B, but just hear some amazing vocals, check out that new 070 Shake. That is heat, straight heat. You Can't Kill Me. That is heat. I've been digging that. I've been checking out Shay Leah. I've been rocking with Shay Leah lately. Amari Noel, rinsing that Nonso Amadi, and Yendry. Check out Yendry, Yendry. She got a single with Damley and Marley called You. That's a vibe for everybody. If you don't like that song, hit me up personally and I will give you $5.
And might possibly fight you too. Miles might fight you.
Yeah, you gotta fight me for the $5.
I'll give you $5, but you gotta fight me for it.
Yo,
And
great song.
Listen, I think we don't give these people a whole great show, and we want to appreciate absolutely everybody for rocking us with us to this point. We see the YouTube audience growing, we see the likes going up, we see the views going up, and we appreciate each and every one of y'all. It doesn't matter where you're listening to this from. You are great beyond your greatest imagination. Remember that